Su Dongjia, guided by his name, Su Dongjia, traveled through a world of cultivation where humans, gods, demons, and demons coexist, becoming a Confucian disciple. Confucian sages have been practicing hard for hundreds or even thousands of years, only receiving a single character for their destiny. Su Dongjia had 3 at the beginning. Su, carrying fish through the gills, falling into the water to revive. East, sunrise in the east, from the glory of wood. Jia, the Meng of the east, with a rising yang energy, wears a fu armor from the wood. Due to its ability to continuously swallow characters and eat books, it can possess 4th, 5th, and even more characters. At the beginning, he was almost fired, and the vice dean personally assessed what a gentleman is. Su Dongjia brought out the Analects and Mencius chapters, resonating with heaven and earth, and displaying various auspicious signs, and cultivated the character June in his original destiny. The king holds a staff, speaks with a heavenly constitution, and converts gods and ghosts. The female teacher reprimanded Su Dongjia for not knowing Yin law, but he got the resonance of heaven and earth by saying, "Great music has the faintest notes, high mountains and flowing water, the big string is noisy like rain," and so on, and he revised the word Yin. The lingering sound lingers on the beam, and for 3 days without realizing it, immortals and Buddhas sink into it. Daomen.Tianjiao and Su Dongjia sat and discussed the Tao, using the Tao Te Ching's principles of Tao can be Tao, non-Tao, and Tao cannot be Tao, name can strengthen name, once again triggering the phenomenon of heaven and earth, and cultivating the fundamental character Tao in Daomen. 3,000 great roads lead to the path. One scale, one word, one method. Demons invaded, and gods and humans could not resist. Su Dongjia stood alone in front of the gods and demons. One word, all sentient beings submit. One method leads to the conversion of demons and demons. Chapter 1. Natural talent of Confucianism and Taoism. Primitive fish. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Dongxing Prefecture. Tianfeng City. Guanhai Academy. Su Dongjia, you are not eager to make progress, never change after repeated education, and now you are a frivolous female master of the music academy. Not only does it insult one's family background, but it also brings shame to the academy. According to the regulations of the academy, you will have your cultivation revoked and be expelled from the academy. From now on, you are not allowed to practice Confucianism or Taoism again, and you are not allowed to venture into any academy in the school palace. Su Dongjia frowned as he looked at Vice Dean Wang Qianxiu with a stern expression. Can't it be said that way? I just crossed over and became the scapegoat. He sorted out his memories and clarified the truth. He is now in the pavilion in the center of the lake, named Sigua Pavilion. Deliberation. The original owner was a second-generation scholar. Father Su Lin is one of the vice deans of the Guanhai Academy, with an 8th grade scholar status. Su Dongjia's son, relying on his noble father, was notorious for wandering in the inner courtyard of Guanhai Academy. Simply put, it means being promiscuous and neglecting one's career. People dislike people, dogs annoy them. Students of the same age and batch are all of the 3rd or 4th grade. He is still in the 2nd-level cultivation realm. Even though the hospital and his father repeatedly reprimanded him, he still couldn't repent. Until a few days ago, the Guanhai Academy holds a triennial school entrance examination. Su Dongjia did not pass any of the 6 arts and cultivation exams, ranking last. According to the regulations of the hospital, those who fail the internal examination will be demoted to the external hospital. The outer courtyard cannot cultivate Confucianism or Taoism, and its lifespan is only 100. It is a person from the foot of the mountain. In the inner courtyard, one can cultivate Confucianism and become an immortal, free and carefree, and be a mountain person. A word difference, a cloud and mud difference. Even if Su Dongjia had no face or skin, he knew that not only did he lose face, but also his future path to longevity. A few friends saw him irritable and invited him to go boating on the lake to relieve his worries. During this time, after drinking a few glasses of wine, I stumbled upon a beautiful woman and approached her. I don't want this temperament to be worldly. The woman with outstanding appearance is the recognized goddess of Guanhai Academy. Wang Qianxiu, the female master of Yuan Academy. Many male masters, disciples, and even female disciples in the academy are deeply admiring him. Su Dongjia only discovered it recently. Just before he could say a few sour words, he was pulled down by Wang Qianxiu's sleeve. Su Dongjia drowned and a big fish appeared inside him, causing Su Dongjia Li Tao to stiffen and cross over. This fish has red whiskers, green scales, and a golden tail. Between reality and emptiness, only he can see it. He can survive inside his body, wander in the air, and even swim in the water. The name of the fish is Benming fish. There are countless scales on the fish's body, and the 3 scales on its forehead have the characters Su, Dong, and Jia. With a thought, it falls on the scales of the fish, and there will be more explanations about the 3 words. Su, carrying fish through the gills, falling into the water to revive. In just 8 words, the origin and wonder of the character Su are revealed. Using grass to string fish, although it may be injured, it can still survive in the water. This is equivalent to giving him a resurrection bug. Su Dongjia was able to come alive because of the character Su. No need to guess, the other 2 words also have supernatural powers. The character Benming has extraordinary significance in this world where Confucianism and Taoism are revered. The entire Guanhai Academy has only a handful of original characters. One of them is his father, Su Lin, who is an 8th grade scholar. The vice dean in front of him, although also of 8th grade, does not have the character of his own destiny. No need to use the character Benming, he is on par with his father Su Lin. He can't hold on to 3 breaths with his own destiny. It is already a luxury for ordinary people to cultivate a character for their own destiny. And Su Dongjia, a 2nd grade cultivator who fails the school entrance examination, actually has 3 natural destiny characters. So, he's not a genius, he's a genius. In addition, there is a vice dean's father who is backed by a Confucian academy. With time, he will surely soar to the sky. After understanding this, Su Dongjia was ambitious. I didn't expect to fly high before I heard you being expelled from the academy. This script is not right. Exiting the academy and abolishing the cultivation of Confucianism and Taoism, isn't it true that the character fish of the original destiny has been abolished? The most crucial thing is that once expelled from the academy, the encounter also falls from the clouds into hell. Those who are expelled from the academy are equivalent to being branded as lowly and incurable. Not to mention the fact that Taoism and Buddhism do not accept abandoned disciples of Confucianism and Taoism. Even ordinary people will despise and belittle. Don't say you're not as good as a dog when the time comes, I'm afraid you'll die without a place to bury it. Those demonic, and ghost shows who are usually oppressed by Confucianism and Taoism can tear him up as a dim sum every minute. There's no way, in this world, Confucianism and Taoism are respected. I have just traveled, and I must not let this happen. Su Dongjia quickly bowed and saluted. Dean, I borrowed wine to ease my worries because I failed the school entrance examination. I really didn't treat you. Master Yu has any substantial frivolity. Master said, knowing one's mistakes can be corrected, and there is nothing great about good. Do you still want to make substantial moves? Wang Qian snorted coldly, feeling very impatient. Su Dongjia, you have done so many absurd things in the academy. How long did the academy endure for the sake of your father's face? But this time you have been frivolous towards Master Yu, and your behavior has been extremely heinous. From the dean to the students from various colleges, upon hearing about this matter, they jointly accused and demanded strict punishment. Even your father wouldn't dare to offend this public anger to protect you. Su Dongjia remained silent again. playing tricks on female teachers, especially those who are recognized as goddesses by Guanhai Academy. Obviously, for the admirers of Wang Qianxiu, Su Dongjia is just a pile of dog poop, stuck on the flowers. Disgusted the flowers, and even disgusted them. If it were him, he would definitely speak up and rebuke the original owner. But now he is Su Dongjia, and even Lai has to rely on the academy. Dad didn't show up, he made it clear that he felt embarrassed and didn't come. At this time, only self-rescue is possible. Since pleading is useless, we can only play pranks. Dean, I am applying for a make.Up exam. The make.Up exam is a rule set by the academy. Students who fail the school entrance examination and are to be demoted to another institution can apply for a make.Up exam. The preparation deadline is 1 month. Half of the 6 arts pass the make.Up exam, and those who require 3rd grade benevolence or above in Confucianism and Taoism can continue to stay in the inner courtyard. This is an opportunity given by the academy to students who only need 1 skill or have a slightly lower cultivation level to qualify. But for Su Dongjia, a thug who is not qualified in all 6 arts and has a 2nd grade in Confucianism and Taoism, taking make.Up exams is a waste of time. Wang Qianxiu shook his head coldly and said, "From what I see, there's no need for this, right? Besides, is it now a question of whether you can retake the exam? It's you who belittles Master Yu." Su Dongjia shook his head and said, "The dean's words are wrong. If you don't teach and execute, it's called cruelty, and if you don't quit, it's called violence. If students are not proficient in their studies, they must have problems. Does the school have no responsibility at all?" Su Dongjia glanced at the other party as he spoke. In his impression, this Wang Qianxiu adhered to the Confucian way of disciplining his parents and emphasized the importance of following rules and regulations in his dealings with others, considering himself a gentleman. He is an old-fashioned person. The saying goes, a gentleman can be deceived by his methods. Su Dongjia, in order to stay in the inner courtyard, also fought hard, focusing on being a scoundrel and shirking responsibility. "If you want to dismiss me, it's okay. The hospital also has to take responsibility." Sure enough, Wang Qianxiu couldn't help but be shocked and repeated this sentence. To execute without teaching is called cruelty. He had never heard this sentence before. But the meaning is definitely clear. He was amazed that such a scoundrel like Su Dongjia could say such reasonable things. Chapter 2 asks you to say 2 more sentences. Can you directly practice the character, Benming? You are listening at novel full.audio. Executing without teaching is called abuse. Did your father teach you? Ah. No, Yuding is honest in his actions and won't act in secret. If he wants to protect you, he can do it directly. Wang Qianxiu shook his head and said, "If none of your 6 skills are qualified and your cultivation level is 2nd grade, even if the hospital gives you a make.Up exam, can you achieve qualification within a month? Besides, you are frivolous, Master Yu." Su Dongjia was secretly pleased. He heard signs of the other party letting go. The key is still the matter of being frivolous towards Master Yu. He carefully recalled for a moment, and the original owner seemed to have said in a daze, "Master is really beautiful, he is so outstanding as." It is estimated that Wang Qianxiu had already known that the original owner Su Dongjia was an ignorant and promiscuous person. "I didn't even wait for him to finish speaking, so I just threw a sleeve into the water. Fortunately. If I couldn't say it, this lie would have been so convincing." Su Dongjia said sternly, "Dean, I did not underestimate Master Yu." Wang Qianxiu narrowed his eyes and angrily rebuked, "How dare you argue? In front of everyone's eyes, even your fellow boatman Pan Yu and Wang Zhen say that your words are frivolous." Pan Yu, Wang Zhen. Su Dongjia quietly squinted his eyes. These 2 good brothers are really stabbing each other in the face and stabbing each other in the back. He vaguely remembered that the original owner had a good tolerance for alcohol, but after drinking in the boat in the middle of the lake, he felt dizzy after only a few drinks. The reason why he went to chat up Wang Qianxiu was precisely because he made a bet with these two people in the boat, betting whether he dared. Now it seems that there is something strange about boating around the lake and flirting with female teachers after drinking. But now is not the time to delve deeper into these things. The top priority is to persuade Wang Qian to make up for the exam. Su Dongjia bowed again and said, "Dean, the students know that they have a bad reputation in the academy, but they also know that they dare to take action. I did it, I believe. I didn't do it, even if I die, I don't recognize it. Moreover, my father teaches in the academy, and the students are more aware that respecting teachers and valuing morality is the top priority. Students dare not engage in the behavior of being frivolous towards female masters, which is inferior to a pig or a dog." Wang Qian nodded first, then snorted coldly, "As you say, it's Pan Yu, Wang Zhen, and even Master Yu who have falsely accused you." Su Dongjia sighed with guilt and said, "Dean, we cannot say they have falsely accused us, nor are we student sophistry. It's really. The student's reputation is not very good on weekdays, which has led to misunderstandings between Master Yu and the dean. The day before yesterday, I failed the school entrance examination and felt depressed. Pan Yu and Wang Zhen invited me to visit the lake to relieve my worries." He recounted the matter in its original form before finally saying, the student's intention was to praise Master Yu for saying, "Clear water comes out of the hibiscus, and naturally goes for carving." However, before he could finish speaking, he was knocked into the lake. Wang Qian listened to Su Dongjia's detailed explanation of the situation and was about to reprimand. But upon hearing the phrase, "clear water produces hibiscus," I frowned again and couldn't help but scrutinize it carefully. As the vice dean in charge of the moral education examination for students, he is very clear about Su Dongjia's character. In a moment, Su Dongjia surprisingly said reasonable and imaginative words such as, "To be executed without teaching is to be cruel," and, "clear water produces hibiscus." Is this still the Su Dongjia who faced off during the exam with, "a row of geese flying south and 2 roast ducks walking north"? If there is such talent, why not pass any subject? Wang Qian still shook his head and said, "Even if it's true, you are still light. You didn't say it yourself. What poetic line do you want to use to praise Master Yu's beauty? Isn't this frivolous?" Su Dongjia shook his head and said, "Dean, the saying goes that a gentleman does not care about his heart when it comes to his deeds, and there is no perfect person in the world when it comes to his heart. To take a step back, even if the student says these words, there is no intention of being frivolous. The book says that a graceful and graceful lady is a good match for a gentleman. Master Yu." Wang Qian's brow furrowed tightly. He didn't pay much attention to the rest of the conversation. He is an 8th-grade Confucian scholar who has always believed that only by adhering to the rules of Confucianism can one be considered a gentleman. Now, upon hearing Su Dongjia's words, the phrase, "a gentleman talks about his deeds without caring about his heart," alone gave him a sudden sense of enlightenment. After staying as a great Confucian scholar for many years and maintaining a stable cultivation, he only felt that his vast energy was like a stagnant water, showing signs of loosening. Even the characters that cannot be repaired have a vague direction. Wang Qian felt a faint excitement in his heart. He now feels that there is hope for further progress. And all of this is due to a sentence from Su Dongjia. He was very certain that the palace was top-down and there were no chapters such as, "graceful and graceful ladies, gentlemen's good suitors," or, "clear water flowing out of hibiscus." Even his colleague Su Lin's direction in studying and cultivating Confucianism lies in putting effort into the writing and speaking of Confucianism and Taoism. It is impossible that he taught Su Dongjia. This son has such insight and talent. Wang Qian's mind was stirred up. This kid is too talkative, let him speak a little more. After a moment of contemplation, he pretended to hesitate and said, "I will verify with Master Yu again. As for the matter of making up for the exam, it is not impossible." But Su Dongjia saw hope and quickly asked, Dean, please speak. I will first proofread some of your articles. If it's still as absurd as before, there's no need to verify with Master Yu. You should leave the academy immediately. If there are really merits, I can arrange a make.Up exam for you. How about it? Su Dongjia nodded and said, okay. How many ancient poems and essays have he memorized? How many winter and summer must-read books have he read? And how many good words, sentences, poems, and famous quotes have he memorized as an elite in compulsory education in China? Are you still afraid of small essays? Wang Qianxiu remained calm and spoke calmly, asking his most concerned question. What is a gentleman? A gentleman. Su Dongjia was surprised. Is the question so big? He carefully reviewed the memories of the original owner, but did not find any insights about gentlemen. Instead, he gained a lot of knowledge about flower arrangement and jade making. Fortunately, he has memories of 2 people and 1 about himself. For him, this kind of problem is equivalent to giving it away. After a moment of contemplation, he bowed and spoke. A gentleman is good at cultivating a noble spirit. Haran Qi, the greatest and strongest, is nurtured without harm through direct nourishment. A gentleman seeks his way without seeking food, and a gentleman worries about his way without worrying about poverty. A gentleman is honest and straightforward, while a petty person often feels distressed. When he first spoke, he was still a bit nervous, quietly observing Wang Qian's reaction. After all, what I answered were all words pieced together from the Middle East of Mencius and the Analects. It's not an exaggeration to call him a copywriter. Wang Qian's eyes lit up at times, he frowned and pondered at times, and his face showed surprise at times. He was certain that there was no Analects or Mencius in this world. This matter will be easy to handle. Su Dongjia's confidence has greatly increased. Although he may not be able to recite the 4 books and 5 classics in their entirety like some people, he still remembers the timeless quotes and masterpieces. The make.Up exam is done. In fact, as Su Dongjia continued to express his views on gentlemen, transparent ripples slowly emanated around his body. These ripples are stacked around him, forming a concentric circle and spreading in all directions. Around the Sigua pavilion, the lake water revolves around the pavilion, creating layers of ripples. On the top of Su Dongjia's head, there was a colorful light pouring down from above. In the distance, the bamboos are rustling, the wutong are rustling, and the multicolored phoenix birds are flying here. In the forest, there are colorful tigers and dark spirit leopards walking out, bowing and whispering towards the position of the Huxin pavilion by the lake, making a listening gesture. On the lake surface, there are golden-bearded dragon loaches, 5-colored phoenix carp, and black-armored spirit turtles swimming and dragging towards. Wang Qian was stunned and his face was full of envy. Muttering to himself, heaven and earth resonate, heaven and earth resonate. Meanwhile, the Benming fish inside Su Dongjia's body gently flicked its golden tail, looked up, and opened its mouth to suck in colorful rays of light. On the 4th piece behind the forehead and the first fish scale on the dorsal fin, a word slowly condensed. June. Chapter 3. Dean's Vibration, Hands in Protection. You are listening at novel full.audio. June. Su Dongjia was surprised. Can the character fish of the original Destiny give him more than 3 original Destiny characters? So, could there be a 5th, 6th, or even more? He glanced at the big fish inside his body and his mind moved. The words on the 4th fish scale gradually became clear, from shallow to deep. June, wielding a staff and wielding power, speaks as a command. It seems to verify what he had in his heart. After the character, June, became apparent, a phantom blue wooden staff appeared in his left hand out of thin air, and a bronze seal appeared in his right hand. It's just that the copper printing surface is blurry and I can't see anything clearly. I don't know if it's due to his low cultivation or if the bronze seal is already blurry. Su Dongjia will no longer elaborate on his views on gentlemen. My mind is immersed in the word June. Between the opening and closing of my eyes, I gaze down at all things, as the sun and moon evolve. A breath of authority emanates from the inside out. It has affected both himself and his surroundings. Just a casual glance made Wang Qian, the 8th-rank Confucian scholar standing opposite him, instinctively want to bow down and submit. However, this idea was suppressed by his cultivation after only a breath. Wang Qian was shocked. Just now, he felt the gaze and pressure from his superiors. This is the word destiny. His understanding of gentlemen can actually resonate with heaven and earth. He is an 8th-grade scholar who has been devoted to Confucianism for over 100 years, but has not been able to cultivate a single character for his destiny. And Su Dongjia, who was only a 2nd grade, had only been in the inner courtyard for 5 or 6 years. He was in a bad shape and had a bad reputation, even cultivating his own destiny character. And this character is also related to gentlemen. Congratulations to all living beings. In the sky, the phoenix birds from all directions are flying, circling and dancing around the Sigua pavilion. In the lake, aquatic people swim around the pavilion. By the lake, spirit beasts howled one by one. All living beings seem to be congratulating and expressing submission. Wang Qian looked at the strange sight in front of him, feeling lost in despair. Just like something that he had been struggling for years without success suddenly appeared in his path, showing a blurry outline. Just as he thought he could get it by running towards him with all his might, the thing was suddenly picked up by both hands and placed in his pocket. His Confucian and Taoist philosophy, which is the essence of Chinese characters, has been taken over by others. Unless he has a higher perspective on the concept of gentleman. Su Dongjia orally stated that the gentleman has reached a resonance between heaven and earth, and has cultivated the character Benming. How difficult it is for Wang Qian to cross this mountain again. For a moment, his heart was filled with mixed flavors. If he had known this, he wouldn't have asked Su Dongjia what a gentleman is. The heaven and earth illusion triggered by Su Dongjia's original destiny character is still ongoing. Starting from the Sigua pavilion, radiating from the Chaohu lake, and then to the backyard of the inner courtyard, the entire sky above the inner courtyard is shrouded in a colorful landscape. Lucky elephants abound in the 6 Arts Academy. The jade wood in the courtyard of rites makes a soft sound. The bowstring in the hospital was buzzing and trembling. The ancient Qian in the music academy resonates with itself. The masters of the 6 courtyards shook and walked out one after another, looking at the strange phenomena in the sky with uplifted expressions. Immediately cast their own spells and head straight to Tianjiao Lake. In the music hall, a gentle woman with green clothes and willow eyebrows gently frowned and said, "Listen to the Chao Lake. The most dynamic one is the Tiansu building of the Confucian and Taoist Academy." Inside the building, a roll of blank glazed jade flew straight out, with strands of golden light striking each stroke on it, carving golden seal characters. The following are: a gentleman is good at cultivating noble spirit, and noble spirit, the greatest and strongest. It is truly Su Dongjia's statement about gentlemen just now. A spirited and silver-haired old man in a Confucian robe flew out of the Tianjiao tower and followed the jade slips. His eyes sparkled with excitement, and he said, "It is a gentleman who speaks, and heaven and earth resonate. It's still about the essence of a gentleman, good, good, good. I have another Confucian and Taoist gentleman with the character, original destiny, in my Guanhai Academy." The jade slip suddenly appeared at the Sigua pavilion, and the engraving speed became faster. It seemed that the closer they were to the source, the faster the engraving. The old man almost arrived at the same time, glanced at the Sigua pavilion, and praised, "Wang Qian has accumulated a wealth of knowledge and finally developed a book." His eyes narrowed. Wasn't it Wang Qian? How could this be possible? 2 more people arrived at the same time. A person in a black Confucian robe, with a white face and short beard, and a tall figure. When it appears, the colorful auspicious light in the sky becomes brighter and the surrounding light becomes more distinct. It is Chen Yu, the dean of Guanhai Academy. A person in a blue Confucian robe, with phoenix eyes and long whiskers, is extremely elegant. When it appears, the mist and rain are hazy, like mist and tears. It is Su Lin, one of the vice-deans of Guanhai Academy and also the youngest vice-dean in the 72 Academy of Shuigong. The illusion around the two was not intentionally revealed, but was triggered by an illusion of a fellow practitioner who had just mastered the character of their own destiny, which inadvertently led to resonance. In addition, the phenomenon of actively releasing the original character can also confirm each other. The two of them reacted, just like the old man. Firstly, it was assumed that it was Wang Qian, and then it was discovered that something was wrong. Qianyu's expression was uncertain as he glanced at Su Lin. Su Lin was both surprised and delighted. Surprisingly, Su Dongjia was the fourth one in the Guanhai Academy to practice the character, Benming. Fortunately, this person is his son. Qianyu raised his hand to gather the light, capturing the colorful light at the edge of the sky. There were hidden colorful lights around him, and his face was full of joy. The character he cultivated is related to light. This colorful vision is of great benefit to his cultivation of Confucianism and Taoism. Roughly equivalent to Su Dongjia eating meat, he drinks soup. As for the old man of Tianjiao Tower, because his destiny is related to book, the words of a gentleman mentioned by Su Dongjia in the Jade Notebook are also included in the drinking soup list. Although Su Lin was the biological father of Su Dongjia, he did not gain any significant benefits because his own destiny had nothing to do with it. Qianyu bowed to the elderly man with silver hair and said, "Mr. Su." Immediately, he came to Su Lin's side with the old man and said, "Rain Pavilion, what's going on, young master? My colleagues have been together for many years, and they have a deep understanding of each other. I am very familiar with Su Dongjia. With Su Dongjia's virtue, he couldn't even write the first 25-character quatrain, how could he still cultivate his own destiny character? It is precisely because of this that they are strange. The character, Benming, must be cultivated by a Confucian practitioner who maintains his own righteousness and combines it with his own destiny and practice, in order to cultivate it. How can Su Dongjia and itDaomen be? Second grade, cultivation realm. He didn't even finish his self.cultivation, so he developed his own destiny character. Is it a reincarnation of a certain sage who suddenly enlightened? Su Lin squinted his eyes and raised his eyebrows, with the corner of his mouth raised. He glanced at the two of them and sneered. Stinky and shameless. Previously, I called my son paparazzi, but now I call him Lingongzi. How could he not know what calculations they have made in their hearts? It's just that I want to become a master of Su Dongjia. In the future, a pair of master and disciple will have two original destiny characters. Who wouldn't envy me? In fact, Su Lin's heart was also shaken, and his hands behind him trembled faintly. His own unpopular son, Su Dongjia, whom he believed to have been deposed, actually cultivated the character, Benming. This is a grand event that has never been seen before in the history of Confucianism. Just wait for Su Dongjia to once again gather the original character, which means that this original character is his. At that time, the father and son of the Su family, with two original characters, will undoubtedly be a beautiful story in Confucianism. If given time, he will surely be able to make a stunning breakthrough and soar to the sky. But now, he's just a second-rate thinking of this, Su Lin reminded in a deep voice, Mr. Su, brother Mingda. The two suddenly woke up and reacted. Dean Qianyu took a step forward and appeared above Tianjiao Lake, pacing in the air, with one hand carrying the back and the other hand holding it weakly, then spreading it out again. In an instant, the entire Tianjiao Lake was shrouded in a colorful glow. Su nodded lightly, just waving in place. Around the Chao Lake, and even extending for several miles, there were jade slips, fences towering several zhang out of thin air. With a wave of her arms and her sleeves fluttering, Su Lin's entire Tianjiao Lake was shrouded in a misty rain. Qianyu's voice echoed through the surroundings. Everyone, please do not approach me, Mr. Su, and Brother Yuding, who have investigated what we have learned. Chapter 4. How did Wang Qian bow to Su Dongjia? You are listening at Novel Full.Audio. By the Chao Lake, outside the Jade Fence. Several academy masters looked at each other in confusion. Just now. Did heaven and earth resonate? No mistake, the 5 virtues and auspicious light, a gentleman's words, someone has cultivated the character, Benming. This great opportunity is very beneficial for us to verify Confucianism and Taoism. Why does the dean want to? He suddenly shut up. Expressing dissatisfaction behind the scenes is not the behavior of a gentleman. A woman in green came holding a jade flute and glanced at Tianjiao Lake, which was protected by 3 layers in front of her. She said calmly, how many people would have been able to cultivate their own destiny characters long ago? How much less is this one? Everyone glanced at the newcomer, their eyebrows and eyes soft, their faces gentle and graceful, and they were undoubtedly the female master of the music academy, Wang Qianxiu. In his 20s, he is already in the 6th grade gentleman realm. He is recognized as a Confucian and Taoist seed and genius by the Guanhai Academy and even the Academic Palace. Among the many Confucian scholars present, the one with the most hope of cultivating the character, Benming. Wang Qianxiu has a cool temperament, and if she doesn't speak, she feels like a fairy emerging from the dust. But as soon as you speak, your words are truly heart-wrenching. However, several of them were older than Wang Qianxiu and highly regarded as colleagues in this position in junior practitioners, ignoring her words. One person chuckled lightly and said, Master Yu has taught you a great lesson. We have poor qualifications and are not worthy of observing. What makes you Fuzi unworthy? Everyone laughed heartily. Wang Qianxiu raised his chin slightly, reflecting the light of the jade slips, emitting a halo and a clear white. His voice remained cold, I can cultivate it myself, so there's no need to watch. The person said again, isn't that right? When I heard that Brother Yuding was practicing the character, Benming, Yu Fuzi hurried over. I didn't expect him to quickly gather the characters of his destiny and enter the body, ultimately failing to catch up with the Taoist observation. Later on, he still sighed and choked his wrist. Another person laughed and said, I don't know if Master Yu recorded this matter with that brat Su Dongjia, and that's why he threw a sleeve into the lake. Ha ha ha. Everyone burst out laughing again. Wang Qianxiu frowned lightly. This group of old and unscrupulous people like to tease the female masters in their music studio. Even our own dean occasionally joins this list. She was a bit envious of Su Dongjia. He is in the Hu Xin Si Gua Ting, so he must have the opportunity to observe the celestial phenomena of cultivating his own destiny character up close. Just that unregulated student is only in the 2nd level of self-cultivation. What can we see again? Unfortunately, it was wasted. A person suddenly spoke up, who created the original destiny character. Everyone looked around and found that one person was missing. Wang Qian. But upon careful consideration, it should also be him. Adhere to the principles of integrity, speak and act in harmony, and uphold the Confucian way of being a gentleman. At this thought, everyone nodded one after another. Brother Wen Yuan adheres to the path of a gentleman, devotes himself to cultivating Confucianism, and achieves great success in one day, which is admirable. Not bad, looking at the celestial phenomena just now, it is truly the light of the 5 virtues. Who else can there be besides him? The weather is so strong, there is no doubt about it. Wang Qianxiu did not refute and looked towards Tianjiao Lake. Wang Qian is a pure and upright person, and he is also in charge of the school entrance examination and parental training at Guanhai Academy. He must have gone to Sigua Pavilion to teach Su Dongjia. It seems that he maintained his integrity and dedication, and gained insights during the process of educating his parents, which resonated with heaven and earth. Undoubtedly, Dean Wang is so patient with students like Su Dongjia. She made up her mind to secretly seek advice from Wang Qian. At the end of the day, Wang Qian's fate was also unintentionally facilitated by her. He must accept this favor. Listening to the tidal lake, thinking of the pavilion. Qianxiu gazed at the vision in Su Dongjia's hand and couldn't help but exclaim, the left stick and right seal are so rough, yet they have such an atmosphere. Su nodded and said, the 5 virtues are clear and bright, and the demeanor of a gentleman is noble. As his cultivation deepens and his destiny character becomes apparent, perhaps he will rule the world. Qianxiu was startled with fear. But I still nodded. Stick and seal have extraordinary meanings in Confucianism. Having both, the weather is extraordinary. Su Dongjia's future is limitless. Qianxiu frowned and said, Su Lao, Yuding, our destiny characters are not the 5 virtues abyss. I'm afraid we can't hide them from the masters in the courtyard. Su Lin shook his head helplessly and said, there is no other way but to cover it up with manpower. The sudden events made them feel like they were in a dream. If I had known in advance, I would definitely have made a comprehensive arrangement. Su Lao laughed heartily and said, there's no need to worry about Yuding. This kid has now cultivated his own destiny character and is naturally the seed of Confucianism and Taoism in my Guanhai Academy. Stay in the inner courtyard, I'll keep him safe. Qianxiu nodded along and said, not bad. Su Lin saluted across the air and said, thank you very much, Mr. Su. A 10th grade Confucian holy realm sits at the Guanhai Academy, exerting strength far above the 10th grade, unless someone is not afraid of death. Qianxiu asked again, Yuding, since Dongjia can cultivate the 5 virtues and destiny characters, how could it be so desolate in the academy on weekdays? He didn't finish speaking, but the meaning was very clear. Su Dongjia's various actions in the inner courtyard in the past were really disliked by people and annoyed by dogs. Even Su Lin himself once said in front of Qianxiu and others, this son is useless. If he does not suffer from a relapse, he will definitely conceive him. The main idea is, this child is useless. If it weren't for worrying about having another child like this, I would definitely have had another one. Su Lin pursed her lips. What should he say about this? I was also surprised to hear that my son had developed his own destiny character. I don't know what's going on either. It must not be possible. Su Lin twisted her beard and smiled, with a look of knowing it so early and taking it for granted. He only said one sentence. Lousy, hero, hero. I, Su Lin, have the original destiny character, and my Su family's Qian also cultivates the original destiny character. Isn't that normal? Qianxiu clenched his fist secretly and then quietly let it go. Hee hee. Now it's Qian, wasn't it called rebellious before? Su nodded earnestly and said, the style of the Su family is not bad. Who in the world doesn't know a ruler, just waiting for this kid to succeed in cultivating Confucianism in the future? A father and son, 2 original characters, amazing. Su Lin took it easy and bowed again, bowing to Su Lao and Qianxiu each. The last gift is to Wang Qian in the court pavilion. Su Lin looked serious and said, Dongjia has such an opportunity. Despite my own efforts, it is also inseparable from the academy. If you can practice the character, Benming, today, Brother Wen Yuan should use the first skill obviously. In his view, Wang Qian, as the vice dean, has been cultivating Confucianism for many years and is well versed in the words and actions of gentlemen. It must have been his scolding that brought Su Dongjia to his senses and helped him cultivate his own destiny character. Qianxiu and Su Lao also nodded one after another. Wen Yuan upholds integrity and trains his parents to have the right path. Wen Yuan's leadership in training parents and taking exams is a blessing for me at Guanhai Academy. In the Sigua Pavilion, Su Dongjia's left cane and right copper seal gradually became illusory. Inside, the June on the fish scales also became clear again. However, compared to the 3 characters Su Dongjia, it still appears a bit bland. In the sky, in the lake, and by the lake, birds, fish, and spiritual beasts slowly regained their senses and quietly dispersed. He has a clear understanding in his heart. From then on, June became one of his original characters. After a moment of contemplation, he respectfully bowed to the king and said, "Thank you, Dean. Everything else is in silence." Wang Qian's expression was complex. But he is ultimately an 8th-grade scholar. After taking a deep breath, he said in a deep voice, "It's not that you want to thank me, but that I want to thank you." He also bowed respectfully to Su Dongjia as he spoke. Su Dongjia looked surprised and admired the dean who had a very poor impression in the past. At the moment when the character June became apparent, he had already gained insight into Wang Qian's thoughts. It can be said that he has taken up a major path in Wang Qianxiu's destiny. It's not an exaggeration to say that Xing snatched the character Benming from the other party's hands. Nevertheless, Wang Qian was still able to face it calmly. The struggle of bowing and yielding is also a gentleman's struggle. Wang Qian is a true gentleman. But this scene stunned the 3 people outside the pavilion. Why did Wang Qian bow to Su Dongjia? Chapter 5. The second rank has the character of destiny, it's a misfortune. You are listening at novel.Audio. Su Lin, Su Lao, and Chen Yu landed together in the pavilion. Su Lin and Chen Yu put away the illusion. Only Su Lao still separates Tingchao Lake with jade slips. Su Dongyang glanced at the black-robed old man and his eyes narrowed. Su Yuan, the 10th-grade Confucian Holy Realm. The Sea God Needle of Guanhai Academy. In my memory, my father Su Lin once took him to visit this famous Confucian and Taoist scholar who lived deeply in the Tianjiao building of the Confucian and Taoist Academy. The old man just disliked the original owner Su Dongjia for being nothing, and only allowed Su Lin to enter the door, pulling him out of the Confucian and Taoist Academy. Even though Su Dongjia has traveled through time, he still feels a burning pain in his buttocks after meeting the old man. Impressive. I didn't expect the old man to come and see him today without saying anything. His eyes looked like a kind grandfather who had seen his promising grandson, with chrysanthemums blooming all over his face. As for Dean Chen Yu, he is no stranger. I may not have a very good impression, but it is definitely not bad. After all, my dad has a common topic with him. He also has an unpopular son. Besides, if it weren't for his repeated tolerance, the original owner Su Dongjia would have been expelled from the inner courtyard long ago. Everywhere is full of worldly wisdom. Su Lin spoke up first and said, "Brother Wen Yuan, is this?" Wang Qian said solemnly, "Congratulations to Brother Yuding, congratulations to Brother Yuding. You have obtained this Qilin and cultivated the character of your own destiny. You have honor, I see the way." Su Lin was shocked. Wang Qian said again, "But please rest assured, I won't reveal anything about this matter to the public." Su Lin and the others felt a chill in their hearts. They had already recognized Wang Qian's voiceover. It was Su Dongjia's own fault for repairing his own destiny character. He is also a beneficiary. How could this be possible? Chen Yu looked at Wang Qian with inquiry. Wang Qian nodded silently, his expression honest. Chen Yu's heart tightened and he looked at Su Dongjia inside the pavilion, his face full of disbelief. This kid. He could never connect it with the ignorant and detested Su Dongjia. How could such a person be able to cultivate the character, Benming, related to gentleman? Su Yuan also frowned tightly. He has a worse impression of Su Dongjia, to the point where even a glance at Su Dongjia makes him feel unlucky. Wen Yuan, this is. Wang Qian nodded and said, he did indeed cultivate it himself. I just happened to ask him what a gentleman is. He shook his head and said, I'm ashamed. A gentleman who has been seeking evidence for 100 years only realized today that he is not as good as a young child. He shook his head, lifted his breath, and walked away on the waves. Chen Yu and Su Yuan exchanged a glance and couldn't help but nod, Wang Wen Yuan, a true gentleman. Su Lin couldn't wait and said, Burzma, you're very good. Su Dongjia looked at this cheap old man with a complicated heart. In my memory, the reason why the original owner was so stubborn was largely related to Su Lin's indulgence. In secret, the original owner had also seen the father's diligent and disputing attitude towards his affairs. Although I am not the main ruler, I occupy the body of others. After a moment of contemplation, he let out a deep cry. Dad. How do you feel? Su Lin's excitement was palpable. Su Dongjia was about to speak when he saw 7 rainbow lights outside the pavilion after the sweet rain. He suddenly understood that he didn't have to worry about being expelled from the academy anymore if he had cultivated his own destiny character. After all, Qingbei still recruits talented students. Seeing the 3 masters of the academy looking at him together, Su Dongjia also rarely regained his composure and said in response, "After the clouds and rain, the area is bright and colorful." There are both lamentations about not having to be expelled from the academy and joy after the rain clears. Su Lin was momentarily stunned. Qianyu and Su Yuan were also stunned. Speak eloquently, adapt to the situation, great talent. Qianyu looked at Su Lin with a questioning expression on his face. Did you also teach him this? Su Lin's blush, his throat cleared, and his neck got stuck. That's what I taught him. Qianyu chuckled. Who wouldn't know that you, Su Lin, are not good at reciting poetry and composing essays in the entire academy? It would have been you who taught it. Su Lin didn't take it seriously and raised his chin provocatively at Qianyu. You have a son, and I also have a son. You're worried that your son won't be easy to teach at the Guanhai Academy, so send him to another academy. How about it? It's better if my son is skilled. Watching mischievous in front of me, he silently cultivates a character for his own destiny. Disagree. Hold on. Qianyu was helpless and shook his head, reminding him softly, let's get to the point. Su Lin's expression stiffened as he nodded and looked at Su Dongjia, saying, Dongjia, you are very happy to be a father and be able to cultivate your own destiny character. But what I want to tell you is that this matter is a blessing for others, but for you, it is a disaster. Su Dongjia was a bit surprised. Why? Su Lin said in a deep voice, the Confucian cultivator, the heavenly demon cultivator, and the demon cultivator. Especially the great Confucian cultivators who have the character of their own destiny are regarded as enemies by both. Even if they are of the 9th or 10th grade and become saints, they will still be despised by them. Su Dongjia suddenly understood. In this world, there are not only Confucian scholars, but also Taoist, ghost, Buddha, demon, and demon cultivators. The cultivation of Confucianism and Taoism is full of boundless energy, naturally restraining ghost cultivation, demon cultivation, and some demons and demons. If they were to find out about a second-grade Confucian cultivator with the character Benming, their fate would be unimaginable. Qianyu smiled and reminded, there are also old demons and female ghosts who love to capture the yang and harem energy of Confucian scholars the most. Your destiny is even more deadly to them. Su Yuanyu said earnestly, young people, you need to have composure. Su Dongjia couldn't help frowning. How do you listen to the 3 of them? It seems that if he goes out of the academy, it's not a disaster, but he's going to die with all his might. But he could still hear the meaning that the 3 of them wanted to express. Their second-level cultivation was too weak, and it was easy to die if they went out. The subtext is also very clear. It's too dangerous outside, staying honest in the academy is the way. To not be constrained, he must quickly improve his cultivation and possess self-protection ability. Su Dongyang leaned forward and said, Grandpa Su, Uncle Chen, don't worry. I will definitely remember what you said. Su Yuan twisted his beard and smiled, not bad, good grandson. Qianyu nodded with satisfaction and said, very good, knowledgeable and courteous. Su Lin's mouth curved upwards. Look, one can cover up 100 ugliness. Previously, I advised Laozi to think big and let Wang Qian drive away my son. What about now? Why don't you turn around and look at your faces on the lake? Pooh, disgusting. Qianxiu did not argue with Su Lin about these things. After experiencing a brief boost, he has regained his composure. As the dean, he must consider the safety of Su Dongjia. Those who grow up are called geniuses, while those who cannot grow up can only be waste materials. Yuding, we will carefully plan how to maximize the coverage of this matter. With this reminder, Su Lin quickly calmed down. After a moment of contemplation, he slowly said, firstly, let the Tianjiao Lake return to normal as soon as possible, allow students to enter and exit, and weaken the existence of the Tianjiao Lake anomaly. Secondly, after leaving Sigua Pavilion, do not disclose any information about this area to the public. Also, we need to find a reason for Dongjia to continue staying in the academy. Qianxiu nodded, then his face turned pale again. The first two items are easy to handle. The three of them work together to manifest the anomalies of their own destiny characters, disrupting the memories of those civilized and uncivilized beings, ensuring that they would not be detected by human beings. It's also easy to hear that Chaohu Lake has returned to normal. It's difficult to give Su Dongjia a reasonable reason to stay in the academy. After all, his frivolous behavior towards Wang Qianxiu has made the entire inner courtyard aware. If we really insist on keeping him, it's hard to guarantee that he won't be discovered by those with intentions. Su Dongjia spoke up at the appropriate time and said, Dean Wang has already agreed to my make-up exam. Make-up exam. The three of them were shocked. Qianxiu laughed dumbfounded and said, you are quite familiar with the rules of the hospital. Just. He looked at Su Dongjia with suspicion. 6 arts qualified, 3 arts. Have you reached the 3rd level of cultivation? Qianxiu looked at Su Lin, who finally shook his head truthfully. He couldn't help but show off his strength in matters of vital importance to his life. Su Yuan turned around and left. When he left, he only left one sentence. You two find a way to keep him and then send him to the Tianjiao Tower. I want to teach him personally. Chapter 6. Complete Meteorology of the Character, June. You are listening at Novel Full.Audio. There are only 3 people left in Sigua Pavilion. Su Dongjia, Su Lin, Qianxiu. Su Lin looked at Qianxiu and said, Brother Mingda. Qianxiu turned around and drifted away, you pooped. Do you want me to help you wipe your butt? Su Lin was exhausted and turned to look at Su Dongjia, who had an expectant expression on his face. The words on his lips were swallowed and changed to, come home with me. Going home. Close the door and talk to us both. The 8th grade scholar could have flown in the sky long ago. Su Dongjia was in the clouds, just as he felt the cool breeze blowing in his crotch, a flower fell in front of him in a separate courtyard. As the vice dean, Su Lin naturally has her own residence called Lan Chui Biyuan. Roughly equivalent to the staff villa allocated by the faculty unit. Su Dongjia has lived here since childhood. When Su Lin walked in, he raised his hand and shook his hand at the green bamboo inside the courtyard, and the entire Lan Chui Biyuan was suddenly shrouded in a hazy mist and rain. On the door, the painted armored door god holding a staff blinked and a faint golden light rose. Su Lin arched his hand and said, thank you. The 2 door gods nodded, and the golden light was even stronger. Su Dongjia was surprised in his heart, but his face looked accustomed to it. A simple and elegant woman in a white robe came holding a cup and said, Rain Pavilion. Su Lin waved his hand and said, no need. The woman was surprised and said, so you. She glanced at Su Dongjia and couldn't help but frown, Jar. That gaze was full of disgust. Jia. Air. Su Dongjia frowned. What looks smaller than him is his own mother. This maintenance is also great. But memories from the original owner told him the reason. The original mother's name was Qianli, and she also practiced Taoism. She was in the 7th grade golden elixir realm of the sect. Qianli looks young, her real age is several years older than Su Lin. Su Dongjia's handsome skin is 7 to 8% inherited from this beautiful mother. Just this look, why is it so disgusted? Why does the yellow soup in this cup smell so peculiar? Mother, this is. Your father said you're useless and wants another one. Su Dongjia. My mother is so fierce. He turned around and left. Dad, Mom, you guys should be busy first. Su Lin reached out and grabbed the back of his neck, saying, come back. At the same time, he waved his sleeve and atomized the yellow soup in the cup, drifting towards the distance. Apologetically, Qin Li smiled and said, no need, my son is doing well. Ah. Qin Li looked up and down with regret, looking up and down at Su Dongjia with a look of, I don't believe it. Alright, Su Lin smiled apologetically and said, Madam, go ahead and get busy. I'll talk to Dongjia about something between men. Qin Li nodded and then gave Su Dongjia a fierce glare. This unpopular thing really dampens my mother's interest. Watching my husband come back and activate the formation, I thought I was afraid of those unscrupulous listeners. Su Dongjia touched his nose. Why is it always me who gets hurt? Su Lin led Su Dongjia along the corridor pavilion to the study. When entering the door and turning around, Su Dongjia suddenly noticed a cloud and mist swirling behind him, making it difficult to see clearly. Su Lin closed the door casually and chuckled, Erzma, this is the small world that I have arranged with my own destiny. Here, you can speak with confidence. Su Dongjia looked around, but there was no trace of the study decoration, only a drizzle. The sound of rain in the distance seemed to be specious. Although there is no light source around, the surroundings are bright with a hint of green. The overall feeling is like a drizzle in a bamboo forest, full of greenery and vitality. Su Dongjia couldn't help but wonder why he had to come to the study, as the character, Lin, could decorate a small world. Isn't it just taking off your pants and farting? Su Lin seemed to see his son's confusion and smiled, saying, although the character, Benming, is strong, it can be used in conjunction with timing, geographical advantages, and many magical treasures, with even greater power. I see. Su Dongjia nodded. Su Lin looked expectant and said, SMA, can you show Dad your original destiny character? Su Dongjia nodded. Whether it was Su Lin's care for him in his memory, or Su Lin's many actions when he obtained his destiny, they all made him certain that this was his own father, so there was no need to be cautious. Of course, everyone also has their own little secrets. Su Dongjia's mind moved and he covered the fourth fish scale. On the scales of the fish, the word June fades. And in his left and right hands, wooden sticks and bronze seals appeared again. Su Dongjia originally felt quite proud of having 4 natural characters. It looks like I'm holding a brick and a stick. Looking at my father Su Lin again, the green bamboo covers the sky, the sound of rain drips profusely, and the artistic conception is profound. He suddenly felt that his destiny character was very low. However, when Su Lin saw the character, Benming, displayed by him, his face was filled with excitement. Even. Envy. Envy. Su Lin took a deep breath and his voice trembled slightly. He even changed his way of speaking and calling, Dongjia, what is the character? Su Dongjia couldn't help but look at his father rubbing his hands like a big-headed fly and tentatively replied, June. A gentleman's ruler. Yes. Call out. Su Lin exhaled heavily. Despite speculations, when Su Dongjia told him personally, he couldn't help but tremble. He clenched his fist and swung it heavily. No wonder the weather is so grand and the anomaly is so clear. June means too much to Confucianism. Almost equivalent to the Tao and De of Taoism. How could I have given birth to such a son? What kind of virtue and ability can a son cultivate a ruler? No, Laozi is a great Confucian scholar with the character, Benming. Isn't it normal for Laozi's son to have the character, Benming? From generation to generation, talented people emerge, and each generation is stronger than the last. Su Dongjia frowned. He naturally knew the position and significance of June in Confucianism. But he didn't feel that June was of any use. He feels that this gentleman is flashy but not practical, easy to say, pleasant to listen to, and not practical. Why not use a knife or sword instead of preparing weapons when facing enemies? Sacrifice your own destiny and cut it randomly. Not like now, with a cane and a fingerprint, it looks so rough. Who knew that Su Lin rubbed his hands again and said, SMA, lend me the word Benming. Su Dongjia frowned and said, Ah. Have you heard of borrowing money, rice, or books, and can you also borrow characters? The mind and spirit are united, and the chi flow. With the divine pen, write the character Benming. Su Dongjia was skeptical and skeptical. Su Lin nodded and said, Don't worry about doing it. In this small world, I am the master, but my wishes come true. Su Dongjia followed his father's advice and made a few empty strokes in the air. A glass-colored June is suspended in the air and is about to disintegrate as soon as it forms. Su Lin was quick-witted and reached out to grab the character June. In the next moment, the character June was like a seed, landing and taking root, appearing terrifying on Su Lin. Su Lin originally wore a Confucian robe and had an elegant appearance. At this moment, it is as majestic as an emperor. He wears a crown on his head, with tassels hanging from his temples. Wearing a black gold-patterned dragon robe, holding a large axe in the left hand and a crystal-clear jade seal in the right hand. The jade seal has clear handwriting, which reads, wielding a staff to wield power, speaking is a command. There is also a canopy, a ceremonial guard fan, a throne on the head, a majestic aura exclusively belonging to the Supreme King rushed towards us. If someone else had changed, they would have knelt down and bowed their heads long ago to pay homage. But Su Dongjia doesn't know. Because this destiny character is his. And he also had a strange feeling. Su Lin is now the Emperor Laozi, he is the Crown Prince. And because the character June was given by him, he also developed a feeling that his father, Su Lin, was the founding ancestor of the country, and he himself was the Taizu who defeated the country with his sword and horse military achievements. Su Dongjia suddenly understood that it was not that the word June was not awesome, but that he was too dish. A second-level cultivation state is not enough to manifest all the qualities of a gentleman. Su Lin glanced at the attire on her body. Even though he was already in the 8th grade, he couldn't help but exclaim, Mountame, a humble gentleman, how great. Su Dongjia suddenly became happy. Chapter 7. The promising future, let me hold on to it for now. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Sun smashing, do you understand what Dad is going to say? I understand. Tell me about it. The level of cultivation not only affects the power of the character, but also affects the appearance of the character being released externally. Before I have enough strength, I can easily not use my destiny word, very good. Su Lin nodded contentedly and said, do you know what you're going to do in the future? Practice and elevate one's realm. Su Lin nodded, wanting to say something more. But thinking of Su Dongjia silently crafting a character for his own destiny is of utmost importance. How much effort has he put into secretly, and he still needs to give advice. After a moment of contemplation, he flipped his hand and handed Su Dongjia a jade pendant. This is a square-inch object, you can put some things inside and inject your spirit. Su Dongjia's eyes lit up. Before crossing over, he was very curious about this kind of space storage tool that violated science, thinking that one day he could have something to study and research. I didn't expect my wish to come true so unexpectedly. And from my memory, I learned that the original owner had always wanted a square-inch object from Su Lin to show off. Even though Su Lin favored him, he didn't give it. Now that he had finished practicing his own destiny, his father had already taken it out before he could even speak. Sure enough, good grades are good, and they are loved by teachers and parents at all times. This is a Mingguang armor made by a Mahist cultivator, which can withstand the full force of a 6th grade cultivator when worn. It was acquired by me in my early years. These are 3 talismans that contain the character Lin from my own destiny. In case of unexpected situations, burning this talisman can create a sweet rain out of thin air. Those below grade 8 can be trapped. Even the 8th grade can hold back the breath. There is a simple fire technique inside that can be used once practiced. This is a teleportation jade talisman, which can be used within 1,000 miles of any academy in the 72 academies. It can instantly take you back to the nearest Qianxiu tower. Su Dongjia frowned upon hearing this and said, "Dad, why isn't it something that either saves life or runs for it? Is there no one who can counter-kill?" Su Lin glared at him and said, "With a sharp weapon in hand, the killing intent arises. With the magic weapon of killing by your side, you will definitely want to take risks and fight back. Remember, even if you seek anti-killing risks, you may lose them in danger. Once you don't kill, you may miss the best chance to escape." Su Dongjia remained silent. It's such a logic. Su Lin was quite surprised. In the past, when father and son met, Su Dongjia was not so well behaved. Su Dongjia often talks back, and he is furious. For this reason, Dean Qinyu also gave him a handlebar with the words, "anger control," engraved on it. Could it be that after his son developed the character, Benming, he even leaned towards being a gentleman? Su Lin asked coldly, "Erzma, aren't you having your soul changed by someone?" Su Dongjia's heart tightened and he said, "Ah." Su Lin stared into Su Dongjia's eyes for a moment, then nodded and said, "I don't think so. This foolish gaze hasn't changed." Su Dongjia. He breathed a sigh of relief quietly. But what does "stupid looks" mean? When you are a college student. Without waiting for him to react, Su Lin waved his hands backwards and carried them on his back, and all the anomalies disappeared. Only then did the layout of the study become apparent around. Books, paintings, and Qian are all just right. It seems that you have listened to all the teachings my dad usually teaches you. It's great. Su Dongjia secretly slandered, "What have you taught me?" Su Lin sternly warned, "Since Mr. Su is willing to personally train you, it's also your chance. You can't be like before." However, when he thought about Su Dongjia crafting the character, Benming, he kept silent. He suddenly realized that facing his son who had been bothering him for over a decade, he didn't know where to start. He simply waved his hand and said, "You're getting older and have your own ideas. Be careful in everything." Su Dongjia couldn't help but think of his past life. One day, after doing something that pleased his father, what he heard was very similar to this sentence. Sure enough, the hearts of parents all over the world. He took a deep breath and bowed, "Yes." He turned around to leave and suddenly remembered something. He turned around and asked, "Dad, about the makeup exam." "I will arrange it." "Thank you, Dad." Su Dongjia thanked from the bottom of his heart. After he left, Su Lin in the study couldn't help but burst out laughing. Qin Li approached leisurely and said, "Husband, what makes you so happy?" Su Lin laughed heartily and said, "My son has achieved great success, can you not be happy?" Qin Li's beautiful eyes lit up with a strange color. She knew that although her husband loved Su Dongjia, she had always felt very regretful in her heart. It's not easy for him to say, "My son has made a name for himself, now. What did he do to make you so happy?" "He has accomplished a great thing, unprecedented. I'm afraid there will be no one in the future, ahaha. There are many people who have cultivated their own destiny characters, but there are few who have cultivated them in their 2nd grade. Even the Holy Ancestor has never achieved this." Qin Li widened her eyes. "What's so big? What kind of material is your own son?" She looked at Su Lin and was eager to ask what was going on. But as a couple for many years, she has a deep understanding of Su Lin's temperament. He will naturally say what needs to be said. What should not be said, asking is also asking for nothing. She looked out of the study and frowned. It seems that my son has really made a name for himself. Su Lin left the study and headed straight to his own courtyard according to his memory. The grass and trees in the small courtyard are uneven, either with broken branches or branches, indicating that the original owner has been causing a lot of trouble. There are exquisite woodcut swords and knives on the ground in the courtyard, which are also beloved items of the original owner. Su Dongjia frowned secretly. Does the original owner know how to flirt with female teachers by playing with things that children only play with? Who is it that has such a great grudge against him and insists on putting him to death? He walked straight to his room, wanting to flip through his studies. After all, he still has to take a make.Up exam. I can't say but sharpen my gun and make a sudden attack. At the very least, one must also know the level of writing in this world and what one's academic background is. Moreover, the 6 arts exam is not solely focused on articles, such as shooting and driving, but also on practical operations. It's easy to reveal the classics of Chinese summer that rely solely on past life memories. On the way, he carefully reviewed the content of the father-son conversation in the study. The meaning of Su Lin is very clear. Having the character of one's own destiny leads to an endless future. But before that, he must persevere. Otherwise, once a second-class Confucian scholar with the character of his own destiny is exposed, it will be like a 3-year-old Mongolian boy passing through the bustling market with his own wealth. Pifu is innocent and harbors a guilty conscience. It is necessary to weaken his relationship with the character Benming from the academy. Su Lin also told him to beware of several special people in the academy. Wei Yu, the director of Fuxia Academy, and Wang Qianxiu, the female master of Lin Academy, both have similar abilities to pry into people's hearts. When you see them, you must keep your guard and be careful not to leak any information. The best way to prevent people from associating the anomaly of Tianjiao Lake with him is to keep everything as usual. He still returned to the infamous Su Dongjia. Thinking of this, he simply turned around and returned to the courtyard, picked up his wooden sword, and performed a crazy criticism sword technique on the remaining flowers and trees. Focus on one detail as he continued to wield his wooden sword, the remaining flower tips and branches fell to the ground one after another. That feeling is just one word. Cool. No wonder so many people have grown up and still have a special fondness for making cauliflower. But this childish behavior didn't last long, so he went back to the house and took a shower. The servants who serve him are those transformed by talismans. They only know how to work and cannot speak, so there is no difference in appearance or gender. As for certain characteristics that Su Dongjia secretly speculated on, there is no need to think about them. Su Dongjia secretly said it's a pity in the dark. Su Lin quietly observed this scene and nodded secretly. It seems that he overthought it. Su Dongjia is still the son he is familiar with. Chapter 8. Is not the original Destiny character created by Wang Qianxiu? Who is that? You are listening at novel.Audio. Listen to Chao Lake. Several academy masters finally arrived at the lake. The dean, Su Lao, Su Lin, and Wang Qian, who had just developed his own Destiny character, did not see any of them. Even the remnants of the surrounding anomalies are in a state of disorder. Everyone felt the fluctuations of the surrounding Haran Qi through a secret technique and frowned one after another. In the primordial energy of heaven and earth, water and light are rich, and the bookish aura is surging, but there is no imagined breath of new life characters. Is it true that the dean and his team are here to spar? There is no new breath in the vitality of heaven and earth. Where's Wen Yuan? Just find him and ask him, okay. Let's go. A group of teachers left together. Only Wang Qianxiu quietly falls on the Sigua pavilion, feeling it carefully. I hope to make some discoveries here. Just disappointed her, there was nothing unusual inside the pavilion. If we really want to talk about something unusual, it would be missing that bastard Su Dongjia. It's normal for him not to be here just because he heard such a big anomaly happening in Chaohu. Am I overthinking? Qianxiu shook his head and turned to catch up with everyone. Everyone returned to the inner courtyard and searched for Wang Qian everywhere. But I saw Wang Qian hand copying a copy of the practicing chapter of the Academy's introductory education in the courtyard. Everyone knocked on the door and entered, congratulating continuously. Brother Wen Yuan, congratulations. Brother Wen Yuan, congratulations. Undoubtedly, it's Brother Wen Yuan. After such a great celebration, he can still remain so calm. Wang Qian's face was full of astonishment and he said, "Where does happiness come from?" Everyone was also stunned and said, "This. Didn't you fix your own destiny character?" We all know. Quick, fast, let me wait and feel it too. Wang Qian shook his head and said, "You made a mistake, it's not me." "Ah. Not you. Who is that?" Wang Qian shook his head again and said, "I don't know either." Qianxiu suddenly spoke up and asked, "Isn't Dean Wang supposed to be listening to Chao Lake too?" I didn't see who it was. Everyone immediately widened their eyes and said, "What, Brother Wen Yuan was listening to Chaohu at that time? Is it true that someone has cultivated their own destiny character? Who is it? How is the weather? Did Brother Wen Yuan gain something from a Taoist observation?" Wang Qian smiled bitterly and shook his head. "Unfortunately, as soon as I left Tianjiao Lake in the front, I heard the dean's words in the back. Judging from the previous weather, it seems that someone has corrected the character, Benming. It's really enviable. Have you all gained nothing?" Everyone looked at each other with suspicion in their eyes. One person seemed very unwilling and said, "Brother Wen Yuan, isn't it really you?" Wang Qian smiled and said, "If it were really me, you wouldn't be able to give a gift to congratulate me now." Everyone frowned. Not Wang Qian. Who would that be? They naturally thought of Su Dongjia at the Sigua Pavilion in Tianjiao Lake. But the three words, Su Dongjia, just flashed by in their hearts. If someone really cultivates their own destiny character, it can only be Wang Qian. Not Wang Qian, is it a scoundrel Su Dongjia? If it were him, even pigs could climb trees. Qianxiu carefully observed Wang Qian's expression, only to see that there was no abnormality in his demeanor or aura. When conversing with others, I remained calm and without any trace. Isn't it true that someone has cultivated their own destiny character? Qianxiu, like everyone else, became suspicious. Everyone in the academy who has the potential to cultivate their own destiny characters is here. It's not them, who else can it be? Besides, if someone really cultivates the character, Benming, and the dean doesn't promote it too much, would he wish the entire 72 academy knew about it? At this moment, everyone chatted with Wang Qian again and then dispersed. Qianxiu turned around and glanced at Wang Qian's courtyard, her eyes narrowed. At that time, it was confirmed that there was Su Dongjia in the Chaohu Lake. But now Su Dongjia is not here, he must know something. She returned to the music academy and summoned the talisman, saying, "Go, find Su Dongjia and ask him to come and see me." Yes. The talisman took orders and left. Walking in the courtyard, Wang Qian saw off the last person and secretly clenched his fists as he looked at the neatly written, walking chapter, on the table. He took a deep breath, then exhaled heavily and turned to look towards Tianjiao Lake. A voice echoed softly in his heart. "Willing." Wang Qian snorted coldly, "It's none of your business." Tisk tsk. As soon as the sound started, it suddenly stopped, as if being choked by life, unable to make any movement. A strange color flashed through Wang Qian's eyes, he picked up his pen, lowered his head, and continued writing. Su Dongjia was flipping through his studies in the study and couldn't help but feel that the difference in the original name and voice was truly unfair. They are all classics of ancient sages, roughly similar to the 4 books and 5 classics of previous lives. It's not easy to fully understand these things, but if you memorize them to prepare for the exam, it's more than enough. Moreover, the other 5 arts are not boring either. Is it necessary for someone who is out of touch to fail all 6 subjects? After reading the book list, he had a rough idea. Li, Lu, Shu, Shi, Yu, and Shu are the 6 arts. Music, shooting, and defense cannot be compensated for by surprise attacks. The remaining gifts, books, and numbers are acceptable. He decided to retake these 3 courses. Numbers and books are similar to previous lives. Even the numbers were simpler than he expected, and the difficulty was nothing more than the Pythagorean theorem and the cage of chickens and rabbits. For him, it's a free gift. What really needs to be supplemented is only etiquette and cultivation. Su Dongjia stood up and walked out. Now that you have a direction, the next step is to go for tutoring. First, find a way to improve your cultivation level. There are 10 levels of cultivation in Confucianism and Taoism, which are enlightenment, self.Cultivation, benevolent, Confucian, wise, gentleman, upright, great Confucian, semi-sage, Confucian sage. Overall, it is similar to the 10 realms of Daomen. The difference lies in their respective focuses. The second-level cultivation realm of Su Dongjia corresponds to the Qi and blood realm of the Taoist sect. The focus and advantages of both sides here are also different. The second-level realm is known as 1,000 bones, 10,000 blood, 1 or 2 Qi. Confucian and Taoist cultivators naturally have an advantage in this realm of cultivation. Because the most important aspect of Confucianism is Qi. Haran Qi. Confucian practitioners infuse Qi into the body, both in quantity and quality, far superior to Taoist cultivators. So the entry speed is also the fastest. The more it is like this, the more it appears that the original owner is useless. Even though they naturally have an advantage, they have stopped at the 2nd grade for several years. Just like the 1st grade Chinese language exam in elementary school, as long as you can write and don't make mistakes, you can easily reach over 90 and easily reach 100. As a result, someone failed the 2nd level of self.Cultivation focuses on cultivating Qi. Haran Qi. Su Dongjia silently recited, it seems that he has sought help from his father. Put the ready-made big shots and backers aside, don't waste them. Those who say they don't rely on anyone and only rely on their own efforts to work hard are either really unreliable or really foolish. Why put in so much effort to avoid taking many detours? He remembered that his father Su Lin had previously wanted to teach him a complex and fast-paced Confucianism and Taoism method, but he refused on the grounds that the master taught us something else and wanted us to be dedicated, and dedicated, the original owner, is really. Su Dongjia is unable to roast. Is there an exclusive secret to what everyone can learn? Unexpectedly, as soon as he was discharged from the hospital, he encountered a talisman reporting, Master Yu from the Music Academy wants you to meet her. Su Dongjia couldn't help frowning. Master Yu. See me. Chapter 9. Heart to heart with brothers, brothers playing brainstorming with me. You are listening at Novel Full.Audio. Invited by Wang Qianxiu. Su Dongjia instinctively wanted to refuse. In my memory, this Yufuzi was as beautiful as an iceberg and had a fiery temper. Otherwise, I wouldn't have let him not even finish his sentence before and just pulled my sleeve out of the water. But Fu Ren made it clear. Master Yu is waiting for you at the Music Academy. If she doesn't come, she will report to the hospital, accusing Su Dongjia and others of committing crimes and disrespecting the master. Su Dongjia didn't expect this woman to be so ruthless, threatening her own innocent reputation. Wang Qianxiu is really going to end himself, and Su Dongjia is bound to be very troublesome. His pulse was taken, and he had no choice but to follow the talisman out of the Lan Chui Yuan. To go to the Music Academy, you need to first pass through a separate campus of the Academy Master, and then passed through the Shu Academy and the Ritual Academy in the Six Arts Academy. On the way, many students saw Su Dongjia and glared angrily at each other. At first, there were only a few scattered people, but later on, they gathered in groups of 3 or 5, calling out friends and following Su Dongjia's side, pointing and pointing. "Look, he's Su Dongjia, the Yufuzi who flirts with the Music Academy. Ah! Is that him? He looks like a dog, how dare he underestimate my goddess? Shoo, keep it down. His father is the vice dean, be careful of his revenge." These people may seem to be whispering, but in reality, they are equivalent to sticking their faces and outputting. Su Dongjia is not deaf, at least he is a second-grade Confucian scholar, and he can hear clearly. It can be seen that the original owner has a high popularity in the academy. His instinctive thought for these discussions is that they are all about the original owner. What does it have to do with me? Not giving a response does not match the style of Su Dongjia in his memory. He suddenly turned his face and looked at the person who spoke, revealing his white teeth. He chuckled and said, "No need to keep it quiet, I remember you. In the future, if I have to leave the academy, I can only go out at noon." The student was puzzled and puzzled. The student on the side explained in a low voice, and the person shouted sternly, "You're threatening me." Su Dongjia looked at the person who explained and smiled, "I remember you too. A mischievous and rogue appearance." The two students didn't expect Su Dongjia to act recklessly even when he was on the brink of death, and they fell silent for a moment. Fortunately, the people next to him couldn't stand Su Dongjia's arrogant face and spoke up. "Su Dongjia, you failed the school entrance examination, and you are disrespectful to Master Yu. How dare you be reckless? Frivolous master, insulting our reputation as a Confucian scholar." Su Dongjia snorted coldly, "This big and small-eyed brother, I warn you that food can be eaten indiscriminately, and words cannot be spoken recklessly. Saying that I failed the school entrance examination is no problem. But if you say I am frivolous to Master Yu, be careful that I sue you for defamation. Besides, did your eye see me, the frivolous Yufuzi? Big eyes or small eyes?" The student who was poked at his shortcomings angrily said, "Su Dongjia, don't judge people by their appearance, it's insulting to be refined." Numerous students approached one after another, glaring angrily at Su Dongjia. Su Dongjia chuckled and said, "Why, do you want to have a group fight based on the large number of people?" Although he appeared indifferent on the surface, "I am actually very worried from the bottom of my heart. After all, I only have a second-grade cultivation. These people are all third or fourth grade. To avoid accidents, we need to block the mouths of these people first." Sure enough, a few students sneered and said, "Gentlemen, if you don't do anything, just hit you. Don't dirty my hands. That's right, you don't deserve us to take action." Su Dongjia nodded. "No action. Great. Uncle Su is going to start spraying." He sneered and said, "Since we don't fight in groups, we're just trying to spread rumors and ruin my reputation." The student in the blue shirt also added, "Is there anyone who wrongly accuses you of Su Dongjia's reputation in the academy?" Oh. Su Dongjia looked at the blue shirt student again, and there seemed to be some impression in his memory. "The other party's surname is Ji, their name is Buchang or something. His father seems to be a master in the cinema. As both family members of faculty and staff, there is some impression." Su Dongjia chuckled and said, "Just based on my reputation." "Exactly." Su Dongjia smiled and asked, "Brother Ji, how is your mother at home?" Ji Buchang's face was full of doubts. Su Dongjia chuckled and said, "I just saw you a few days ago and you look good." Ji Buchang was momentarily taken aback, then frowned and asked, "What do you want to say?" Su Dongjia remained noncommittal and shook his head, pouting as he said, "I want to go myself." Speaking, ignoring the noisy crowd, he followed the talisman and left gracefully. Ji Buchang's face was green and red, and he clenched his fists and roared angrily, "Su Dongjia, stop." The other party didn't say anything, but he just felt like they had said everything. There are also many unspeakable dirty things among them. He just had a sudden thought, and various scenes that made him feel ashamed and angry flooded in. He quickly stepped horizontally in front of Su Dongjia and reached out to stop him, saying, "If you don't explain it clearly, don't think of leaving." Su Dongjia glanced at him and kept walking. "I'm not your father, I have to get used to you." Ji Buchang felt that his chest and lungs were about to explode, and he angrily shouted, "Su Dongjia, you stink and shameless. I have someone to prove that I saw you frivolous, master you. A witness. Me. Me." Two people walked out of the crowd, both dressed in Confucian robes and handsome, standing out among the crowd. Compared to Su Dongjia, it's just a bit lacking in meaning. After the two of them appeared, Ji Buchang immediately leaned over and said, "Brother Pan and Brother Wang, could you please tell everyone whether Su Dongjia has underestimated Master Yu?" Su Dongjia frowned. Pan Yu, Wang Zhen. In the original owner's memory, these two were his half-brothers and half-brothers. Previously at Sigua Pavilion, Vice Dean Wang Qian said that the two were willing to testify. "I didn't expect to become a representative of defending justice again now. It seems that these two good brothers have contributed a lot in the middle." Before Su Dongjia could speak, Pan Yu walked up to him and said with a sorrowful expression, "Dongjia, man, come out and apologize." Su Dongjia. Wang Zhen also shook his head helplessly and said, "Dongjia, apologize. Just step forward and apologize, it's nothing." Su Dongjia. It seems that the original owner died unjustly. Surprisingly, they are friends with people who are at odds with each other. Su Dongjia squinted his eyes. He came across time and had no deep hatred towards these two people. Now there is Ji Buchang began to shout again, "Su Dongjia, Brother Pan and Brother Wang have all testified. What else do you have to say now? Just." Su Dongjia couldn't help but tsk at him and said, "You're still standing with them here. A few days ago, I went to your house to visit your mother, and they were also there." Everyone angrily rebuked Su Dongjia for talking nonsense. Su Dongjia just sneered and said, "Have you forgotten that Pan Yu, Wang Zhen, and I are close friends? Otherwise, what did I do? How do they know?" The voices of the crowd came to a sudden halt, and they all looked at Ji Buchang with doubts on their faces. And sympathy. Ji Buchang was confused. He instinctively looked at Pan Yu and Wang Zhen. The two quickly waved their hands and said, "Brother Ji, don't listen. Damn it." Ji Buchang was frantically brainstorming and punched Pan Yu's nose bridge. Without waiting for the latter to react, he pounced on Pan Yu with his whole body fitted together and grabbed her neck, saying, "Tell me, what are you doing at my house?" Pan Yu was caught off guard and fell to the ground. The two wrestled together. Wang Zhen reached out and said, "Brother Ji, don't listen to Su Dongjia's nonsense. We didn't tell Aunt. No, we never went to your house." Su Dongjia took the opportunity to stir up trouble and ignite the flames. "Isn't that right? You used to call them Xiao Xianshan, but now you call them Auntie." The clamor of many students suddenly came to an end, staring at the farce in front of them with wide eyes. Didn't it be agreed to condemn Su Dongjia and demand an explanation for Master Yu? Why are there internal conflicts among our own people? And Pan Yu finally broke free with Wang Zhen's rescue. He fiercely pushed away Ji Buchang, his face full of disgust, and said, "Stupid, didn't you see that he meant to say that? We haven't seen your mother at all." Wang Zhen also shouted in a low voice, "Don't use your brain to think. What are we going to see Auntie for?" Ji Buchang suddenly woke up and glared angrily at Su Dongjia. Pan Yu's face was covered in blood, her hand covering her nose, and she looked at Su Dongjia with hatred and said, "Dongjia, don't be stubborn. The frivolous master is Su Dongjia waved his hand and interrupted him. I clearly saw that you went to the house of Mr. G. Han Yu angrily said, you're talking nonsense. Su Dongjia followed suit and shouted, you're talking nonsense. I have brother Wang as a witness. I also have his aunt from the Chichicheng family as a witness. Su Dongjia sneered, frivolous master, I dare not even think about this matter. If you two bring it up and say it, your heart can be punished. You. What are you, you? Su Dongjia pointed to the talisman in front and was about to speak. But an impatient voice rang out. Su Dongjia, I want you to come see me quickly. Why are you dawdling on the road? The students were taken aback. This is Master Yu's voice. What's going on? Everyone, look at me, I look at you, I can't believe it. Yu Fuzi took the initiative to meet Su Dongjia. Chapter 10. Students are crazy, Master Yu meets Su Dongjia alone. You are listening at novel full.audio. I didn't hear you wrong, did I? Master Yu wants to see Su Dongjia. It seems like it's really Master Yu's voice. He is frivolous towards Master Yu, and Master Yu still wants to see him. False, it must be false. Master Yu must reprimand him. After Su Dongjia left, the students began to discuss. As the goddess in their hearts, Yu Fuzi can only be seen in class during normal times. After class, when students seek advice, Master Yu uses talismans to convey messages. Many male masters who wanted to have private contact under the guise of sparring were also rejected by Master Yu. After multiple attempts, everyone came to the conclusion that Master Yu, like a lotus in water, could only be observed from afar and not be molested. Unexpectedly, now Master Yu has taken the initiative to meet Su Dongjia. Or someone who is notorious for teasing her. For a moment, everyone found it difficult to accept. I don't know who suggested, let's go take a look. After everyone fell silent, they all nodded and went to take a look. In front of so many people, they don't believe how Su Dongjia dares to treat Yu Fuzi. If Su Dongjia really dares to act recklessly in front of so many people, he must be ruined. Su Dongjia followed the talisman 7 or 8 turns along the way and finally arrived at a pavilion in the music academy. Looking from the side, the eaves and teeth of the pavilion are high-pecked, with bamboo and fragrant grass, very elegant. There is a beautiful woman sitting in the pavilion, with one hand pressing the score and the other holding a pen to annotate. Beautiful scenery makes people more beautiful. Su Dongjia secretly exclaimed in his heart that the original owner had a poor eye for people, but his aesthetics were online. However, considering that my little braid is still being held in the other person's hand, I cannot make any unexpected mistakes at this time. He quickly restrained his thoughts. Wang Qianxiu noticed Su Dongjia's arrival and looked up to see a group of people hanging behind him. He frowned and said, "What are these people doing here?" Without waiting for Su Dongjia to speak, she lifted her pen and waved it. A line of ink flew out, and music symbols appeared in the air several tens of zhang away from the pavilion. The music symbols formed a formation, blocking everyone outside the court. Everyone could only see 2 hazy figures inside the pavilion through the music symbols, causing an uproar. Surprisingly, Yu Fuzi used a formation to block them out and saw Su Dongjia so close inside the pavilion. For a while, many students gritted their teeth and showed unwillingness. This kind of treatment. They also want to have it. Su Dongjia, this bastard. In the pavilion, Su Dongjia saw the goddess in the courtyard of the Guanhai Academy and quickly bowed respectfully, saying, "Master Yu." Considering his involvement with this female teacher, his salute attitude appears particularly sincere. Wang Qianxiu couldn't help but be shocked. Su Dongjia in front of him didn't look askance and didn't listen to any frivolity on the Chao Lake. In fact, when Su Dongjia walked into the pavilion to see her, she noticed that Su Dongjia's pace, breathing, and even his heart rate tended to be consistent. Wang Qianxiu is only in his 20s and has already reached the 6th grade gentleman realm. He is also the most promising young generation in the Guanhai Academy to cultivate their own destiny characters. And the direction she chose in her heart is also quite unique. She knows elegance by listening to string sounds. The emotions of others, including breathing, heartbeat, and changes in behavior, cannot escape her perception. Those male students and teachers in the past were disgusted by her insincere and ugly expressions. When I saw Su Dongjia at Tingqiao Lake earlier, my heart was pounding like raindrops, and I looked like a promiscuous person. That's why I didn't wait for the other person to speak and pulled my sleeve into the water. Unexpectedly, in just 2 days, Su Dong was still in the 2nd grade. How could he achieve a slight tension in his heart, maintain his composure, and behave well in front of her? Is it difficult for a noble person to speak up and be influenced by the 5 virtues? Wang Qianxiu was full of energy and looked forward to the Confucian cultivator who had cultivated the character, Benming. A gentleman speaks and educates the world. Change customs and habits, do not be good at music. Unlike Su Lin and Dean Qianyu's original destiny characters, her Tao is naturally close to the 5 virtues. So she urgently wants to know who listened to Qiao who practiced the character, Benming, and take this opportunity to seek advice. Surprised, Wang Qianxiu remained calm and his voice did not fluctuate. Su Dongjia, didn't I ask you to think at the Sigua Pavilion? Who let you out? Su Dongjia respectfully replied, Master Huiyu, it's the dean and my father. After a pause, he added, the student was greedy for a few glasses of wine and indulged in debauchery due to failing the school entrance examination. I was taught by master, but now I have realized my mistake. Thank you very much, master. He bowed to the bottom as he spoke. Wang Qianxiu's eyes lit up, and he thought to himself, sure enough, as he was about to inquire about the situation at the scene, he noticed that Su Dongjia's words were appropriate and completely different from before. He couldn't help but be shocked again. Isn't that right? Is this really the Su Dongjia from Tingqiao Lake? She frowned slightly and said, did Dean Su teach you all these things? Su Dongjia shook his head and said, Master Hui, these words come from the heart of the students, not from my father. Wang Qianxiu was greatly puzzled. When Su Dongjia said these words, his heart was smooth, his well remained calm, and he did not lie. What can make her not notice anything unusual is either sincere or her cultivation level is far higher than hers, and her cultivation heart has already reached the point of a mountain collapsing in front of her without changing her face. The bright colors in Wang Qianxiu's eyes are even more vivid. In her opinion, Su Dongjia's significant change must have been due to a Taoist influence. The only way to make such a change happen to a student who is not dedicated to their work in an instant is through the influence of the 5 virtues. This scoundrel's intelligence should also be not low, otherwise how could the 2nd-level cultivation realm be so changed? Wang Qianxiu quietly squeezed his knuckles tightly. By such a chance, the dean didn't even let the servant in the hospital observe the Tao. She no longer concealed her thoughts and went straight to the topic. When I ask you a question, you answer truthfully. I can forget about the incident that occurred in the past. If you dare to lie, then I will hold you guilty of being a frivolous master and expel you from the academy. Su Dongjia quickly lowered his head and leaned forward, excuse me, master. I ask you, besides Dean Chen, Dean Su, and Mr. Zhu, who else was listening to Qiao Hu before? Su Dongjia shook his head and said, Master Hui, there's also me. What about Dean Wang? Dean Wang. He's with me in the pavilion. Wang Qianxiu's eyes narrowed and he suddenly stood up. It was indeed him. Wang Qian lied. She quickly asked, is there any abnormality on Dean Wang's body? Master Hui, there is none. No. Wang Qianxiu squinted and said, lift your head and say it again. Su Dongjia frowned secretly. How could Wang Qianxiu be like training his son? But the person had to lower their head under the eaves, so he had to look up and say seriously, there really isn't. Wang Qianxiu's eyes narrowed into a slit. The heartstrings haven't fluctuated yet. After thinking for a moment, she asked again, "Did you see any strange phenomena in the sky at that time?" Su Dongjia thought to himself, "Indeed. Fortunately, my father Su Lin explained it in advance, otherwise this question alone would have been exposed." He nodded, honestly, and said, "I see." Qianxiu's eyes lit up, and he unconsciously took a step forward. "Who emitted the anomaly?" Su Dongjia shook his head and said, "That person is stepping on the colorful auspicious clouds, and his whole body is shining with light. I can't see clearly." Qianxiu furrowed his brows and lightly tapped the stone platform with his jade fingers. After a moment, she frowned and sneered, "You're lying."